We're throwing subsurface crankbait lures today, and this has been a real good pattern this summer, especially for bigger fish. This one isn't quite a bigger one. We lost one earlier. It was definitely an 18 or 19 in this shallow mixture of rock and grass. There's a very specific part of the presentation that makes them bite. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, get my anchor down. Whoa, there he's jumping. Come here, fish. Get out of my motor. Stay out of there. Stay out of there. There we go. Oh, that's a chunk that wanted to eat a crayfish. What he thought it was. Haha, but it wasn't. You like the crank? Feeling cranky this morning? Hello, cranky crank. So we're fishing crankbaits today, but specifically we're doing these subsurface crankbaits with this tiny little bill. The reason most crankbaits work, and I'm going to pull out a deeper diving one with this big bill, that's for targeting deeper water. And what really makes crankbaits work very well is that when they come down and they hit a rock, they deflect off at a very erratic motion. And I think to the fish anyways, it looks like an evasive maneuver. But with that bill and just digging around in a rocky river like this, you stand a much better chance of snagging up, which is why these are very nice, these subsurface. I just poked myself. Crankbaits, this is a Copper's subsurface crankbait. Here's another real popular one, the Man's Baby 1 Minus. And to me, I think these are representing crayfish that are, scared and scooting away from the fish, and they will follow these. And I've watched them follow them for a good long way. And the thing that really gets them to bite when you're fishing something that's that stays near or just below the surface is the pause. And I'm going to show you very briefly how brief of a pause I'm talking about. Jed, go ahead and focus on my reel. I'm reeling, and then I pause, and then I go. That's all it is. And what that does, if I throw, maybe 2 or 3 of those into a retrieve, it gets those fish that are following the bait to commit. They are, and I've watched them do it. It's real clear water. They'll follow it, maybe 2 feet behind, and it's wobbling and coming through the current like that, and it just very, very briefly lifts up and then continues. And that evasive maneuver is when they come up and they grab it. So throw that pause into your retrieve. It's a very subtle thing that really is going to get you a lot more bites than just retrieving these in evenly.
Fishing with a Rebel shallow running crankbait, crayfish pattern. Seems to be producing today. I've already got 3 just below the surface at the top of the pools.
Away from that rock. That's a good one. Had a lot of follows this morning, and that was on the pause. Reeling it in, stop, crunch. He had a couple nice jumps in there. And it's important to have a good crankbait rod just to absorb the shock when those fish jump. just to, that rod tip just stays with it. Having a moderate action rod makes a huge difference in how many fish. I mean, you're going to hook plenty of fish, but how many you actually land. The other thing you want to have, set of pliers to get in there and get these nice fish back in the water quickly. So yeah, let's take a look at this rod. This one's my favorite crankbait rod. I actually troll with it out in the bay for the bigger plugs I use for the striper, and it'll handle them. It'll handle them real nice. But it's also good with these river smallmouth and the crankbaits. It stuck me a little bit. It is a St. Croix Legend Tournament Magnum cranker, and the thing you got to remember, it's a moderate action rod, heavy power, so it can handle these bigger lures. This one will throw up to, looks like, 1 3/8 ounces. That's a big crankbait, but it'll also throw these medium and even some smaller ones pretty well, because the moderate action rod loads very well, just like the old fiberglass rods, but it has the sensitivity of being able to feel it, you know, when you're bumping into stuff. So, but yeah, moderate action is really critical to crankbait fishing. Yeah!
All right. Good fish. We've been getting them today on shallow crayfish crankbaits, straining a lot of water, you know, moving the bait pretty fast, and we had some chase it, and then, you know, we slow it down and fish some plastic presentations and work the pool a little bit better. But this one took a shallow crankbait, shallow crayfish, coppers crankbait. Cool. Oh yeah. This fish was right in the middle of a large chute that came in right above us, and it's also where 2 other chutes came in from both directions. So kind of almost like a confluence of a bunch of different chutes coming from all angles. It could definitely be a place where a forage would get, you know, backwards or confused, bait fish or crayfish, a lot of different current going on in that area. So